Right, let's cut the crap. This isn't a video about sleeping better, hitting the gym more, or drinking kale smoothies. You probably heard that all before, and yes, those things do matter, but this is different. This video is all about what's happening inside your mind and the hidden mental habits that quietly sabotage your happiness without you probably even realizing it. And these are things that used to plague me, but once I started to understand more about how my mind was actually wired and started implementing the tools that I'll share in this video, my baseline level of happiness genuinely shifted in a real, meaningful way. So if you're looking for an actually realistic guide to feeling happier, this is a quick video for you. So firstly, we need to understand a little bit more about our brain. And unfortunately, our minds are wired to look for more of what's wrong than what's right. And psychologists call this a negativity bias, where essentially our brain has evolved to always be on the lookout for threats or dangers to our survival. And this made complete sense thousands of years ago, say, when we were trying not to get killed by predators, or we were trying to just fit in with our tribe and not do or say anything wrong and get kicked out of the tribe and then be on our own and most likely killed by predators again. But now in a modern society, we don't have these sorts of threats to our survival, yet our brain's threat radar still gets hijacked by far less dangerous things. And so what we're essentially doing is just constantly, unnecessarily placing ourselves in this constant perceived state of threat or failure. For instance, for an example in my own life, I've done presentations at work, say, where I've received pretty much all good feedback, but then right at the end, maybe I get one lukewarm bit of feedback from someone where they said like, yeah, I think it was okay, but you seemed a little bit nervous at the start. And then all of a sudden, my brain is just latching on to that one bit of feedback. And now my mind is just constantly looping around that one negative bit of feedback, and it is completely overshadowing all of the other praise that I did receive. That is the negativity bias in practice. It's also the reason why life could objectively be going completely fine or even going well, yet we still zero in on the small problems that we might have going on in our life. And that really does create unhappiness. So from this first point, we can see that our internal lens is kind of filtering reality, and it is really tilting reality towards a negative. Unfortunately, it gets even worse because not only is our brain constantly noticing negatives that are going on in our life, but our brain also really clings onto the negatives and gets stuck on those negatives. For instance, if we go back to giving a presentation example at work, you might find where, say, you do a number of really good presentations, and in those circumstances, maybe you're happy for a little bit straight after, but you probably don't really think about them too much. But if you're to go and just give one bad presentation, all of a sudden, that might completely crush you, and it might start creating real levels of anxiety and stress for you, and those feelings could last for days, weeks, or even longer. Our minds also aren't particularly good at converting bad thoughts into good once they've seen the bad. For instance, if you were a doctor and you tried to describe an operation as having a 30% chance of failure, you're probably then going to struggle to actually convince the patient that there is still a 70% chance of success once they've heard that 30% chance of failure, because that is all that they're going to be thinking about. And I think a lot of all of this goes back again to negative thoughts activating survival areas of the brain, because when it comes to negative thoughts, they do just seem to always feel a lot more real, and they really do just stick to our brain. Where if we were to think about positive thoughts a little bit more, they just always seem to be processed a lot more lightly, and because of that, it means that they're often a lot more fleeting unless we really focus and notice them. So we can now see that our minds are essentially built to look for negative information and to hold on to it. So the question is, how do we counteract this? Well, in my experience, what we need to do is to really make a real effort to see all the positivity in our life. And that requires real, conscious, repeated effort to shift that mental weight and to really notice and nourish all of the good that will be going on in our lives. And there are two things that I have found to be most powerful to do. So the first is around savouring. And for me, this is all around the fact that we don't really enjoy all the good that goes on in our life because we simply don't pay enough attention to it. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Italy, and Italy has absolutely amazing coffees, and I really love coffee and was getting a lot of these coffees, but I found that I wasn't really actually enjoying it. And I think this was just because I wasn't paying enough attention to actually drinking it, because most of the time I was just chugging it, I was probably checking social media or something on my phone, where what I really should have been doing was sipping it slowly, pausing, and really savouring the genuine quality of this coffee. And so this savouring, it is a form of mindfulness, and you might think it sounds a little bit silly, but it really is targeted at helping you notice all of the good things that will be going on in your life much more fully. And your brain most likely won't naturally do this, and so you do have to really try to create these moments and just slow down to absorb all the joy in your life. But doing so, I have found, really does deeply enhance your levels of happiness. The second thing that I've found to be very useful is gratitude. And you've probably heard about gratitude before, but it really is such a powerful tool. And studies have even shown that having just a small gratitude practice can really deeply enhance your levels of well-being within just a matter of weeks. And when we talk about gratitude, it doesn't need to be anything profound that you need to be grateful for. It can really just be small things. I mean, maybe someone gave you a small compliment at work, or it could simply be the fact that you've got a roof over your head and food to eat in the fridge. And if seeing all the good doesn't come naturally to you, like it didn't always come naturally to me, well, maybe this is where to start with, you do just try and write down 2 or 3 small things every day that you are grateful for. But the key is that the more and more you do this, the more you are training your brain to really start to search and notice all of the good. And that's it. So just remember, we are conditioned to look for and to hold on to negative information. But if we make a real effort to notice and savor all of the positive things that definitely will be going on in our life, we can then start to shift our perspective to one of being more of a glass half full instead of half empty, and in turn, that will create a lot more happiness in your life. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.